burning down on the quiet neighborhood, Chinyere was squatting by the gutter behind a row of abandoned shops. Her dirty wrapper was sticking to her sweating body and her legs were trembling. She was too weak to reach the public toilet. She just wanted to urinate and get it done with. But her water was breaking. She was pushing suddenly and hard. She was looking down and realizing the baby was already halfway out. The small head was showing and the body was following quickly. She was leaning back, scared and shocked. Then the baby was slipping from her hands and falling into the gutter with a splash. The gutter was filled with discarded foam and old rainwater. Her first thought was shock, then panic was filling her mind. Then disgust was coming when she was picking up the baby and seeing it was not just a girl, but also sickly looking with a small crack on her back, like a broken doll. Okechukwu, she was calling out to her husband. He was rushing in from the corner where he had been waiting. He was seeing the baby and staring for a long time. Then he was whispering, "Another girl? And she's not okay." They were poor, exhausted and disappointed. They were already raising two girls in poverty, and the third child was breaking them completely. And in that moment, they made a split-second decision. They were deciding to leave her there. But let's take us back to understand how they reached this terrible moment. Earlier before this incident, Chinyere was 28 years old and she was carrying her third child. Her husband, Okechukwu, was 34 years old and he was working as a bicycle repairer in their small town. They were living in one-room apartment with their two daughters, Adeze and Chioma. The room was always crowded and money was always short. Chinyere was selling vegetables in the market, but business was not good. People were buying less because everyone was struggling. Okechukwu was fixing bicycles all day, but his hands were getting sore and his backs were aching from bending over the old bikes. This time, it must be a boy, Okechukwu was always saying. He was hoping and praying every night. Chinyere was nodding and touching her belly. She also wanted a son so badly. They were saving their small coins in an old milk container. The money was for blue paint because they were planning to paint the room blue for their baby boy. They were already choosing his name, Chibuikem, which means God is my strength. Their neighbor were watching and whispering. Mrs. Ngozi was living next door and she was always making snide comments. "If this one is not another girl, your husband will run away," she was always saying with a nasty smile. 3 girls and no boy. That is too much trouble for any man. Chinyere was feeling worried every time she heard these words. She was touching her belly and praying, "Please God, let this baby be a boy. We need a boy so badly." The pregnancy was getting harder each month. Chinyere was getting weaker because she was not eating enough. She was giving most of her food to Adeze and Chioma. Her legs were swelling and she was finding it difficult to walk to the market. Okechukwu was working longer hours, but the money was still not enough. He was coming home tired and angry. Sometimes he was not talking to Chinyere for hours. He was just sitting in the corner and staring at the wall. "If this boy is not a boy," he was saying one evening, "I don't know what we will do." 3 girls, Chinyere, how will you pay for their school? How will we find money for their wedding? Chinyere was crying quietly. She was knowing that her husband was right, but she was also feeling sad that he was talking about their unborn child like a burden. The blue paint was still sitting in the corner waiting. The small tin of saved money was growing every day slowly. Their hope was the only thing that was keeping them going. Now, they were both staring at the baby in Chinyere's arm. She was not crying loudly like healthy babies. She was just making soft sound. Her skin was pale, and the crack on her back was looking like a small scar from the fall. Chinyere was feeling sick in her stomach. This was not the strong boy they were dreaming about. This was their third daughter, and she was born in a gutter. She was looking damaged and weak. "What will we do?" Chinyere was asking. She was shivering even though the sun was hot. Okechukwu was looking around. No one was watching them. The street was quiet. Most people were walking or staying inside because of the heat. We cannot take her home, he was saying slowly. Look at us now, Chinyere. We cannot feed the 2 girls we have. And this one, she will need special care. Look at her back. Chinyere was crying now. The tears were mixed with sweat. She was knowing her husband was right, but her heart was feeling torn. Okechukwu was taking off his shirt. He was wrapping the baby in it carefully. The baby was still making soft sound. He was looking at her small face for a long time. Then, he was placing her gently back in the gutter, away from the dirty water, on a piece of dry cardboard. Someone will find her, he was saying, but his voice was shaking. Someone who can take care of her properly. They were walking away together. Chinyere was crying and Okechukwu was not looking back. They were both feeling like they were breaking inside, but they were also feeling like they had no choice. Veronica was 42 years old and she was a widow. Her husband had died 3 years ago from a sickness that the doctors could not cure. She was living alone in a small room behind the old church. Every morning, Veronica was walking around the town, collecting plastic bottles and bags. She was selling them to recycling people for small money. It was not much, but it was keeping her alive. This morning, she was walking behind the abandoned shops with her large sack. She was looking for plastic bottles that people might have thrown away. The sun was getting hotter and she was feeling thirsty. Then she was hearing a sound. It was soft and weak, like a cat was crying. Where is that sound coming from? She was asking herself. She was stopping and listening carefully. The sound was coming from the gutter. Veronica was thinking it was a kitten that had fallen inside the gutter. She was always helping animals that were in trouble. She was walking closer to the gutter and looking down. What she was seeing was making her scream. Jesus, who left this child here? There was a baby girl wrapped in a man's shirt, lying on a piece of cardboard. The baby was crying weakly. Pieces of foam were sticking to her small face. Veronica dropped her sack and reached into the gutter quickly. She lifted the baby very carefully. The little girl was so light, like a small bird. Oh my God, oh my God, Veronica said over and over. She unwrapped the shirt and looked at the baby. The child was breathing, but she was very pale. There was a small mark on her back, but it was not bleeding. Veronica wrapped the baby in her own clothes. She held her close to her chest and felt the tiny heartbeat. Who could do this? She asked out loud. She looked around, but the street was empty. Who could throw away a baby like a rubbish? The baby opened her eyes and looked at Veronica. Her eyes were bright and alert, even though she was very weak. Veronica felt her heart melting. Don't worry, little one, she whispered. Mama Veronica will take care of you. She forgot about collecting plastic bottles. She carried the baby home quickly, talking to her all the way. You are safe now, she said. No one will hurt you again. Veronica's room was small, but it was clean. She had only one bed, one chair, and a small table. On the wall, there was a picture of Jesus and a photo of her dead husband. She placed the baby on her bed and looked for clean clothes. She tore one of her old wrappers to make baby clothes. Her hands shook because she had no experience with babies, but she tried her best. The baby was still weak, but she drank some water that Veronica gave her, drop by drop. Veronica had no baby food or milk, so she mixed some rice with water and made it very soft. What should I call you? Veronica asked the baby. She thought for a long time. You were thrown away like rubbish, but God saved you, she said. You are precious like gold that people sometimes throw away by mistake. I will call you Gold. Gold grew stronger day by day. Veronica took care of her with love, even though she was very poor. She spent her small money on baby things instead of food for herself. Sometimes, Gold got sick with fever or cough. Veronica stayed awake all night, putting wet clothes on her head and praying. She took Gold to free clinic when the sickness was too much. The mark on Gold's back healed, but it left a small scar. Veronica always told Gold, this mark shows that you are special. God marked you for something great. As Gold grew, she became a bright and curious child. She walked early and talked early. She always asked questions about everything. Mama Veronica, why do people throw away babies? Gold asked one day when she was just 5 years old. Veronica felt sad, but she answered carefully. Some people don't know how precious children are. They think they cannot take care of them, but God always sends someone else to love them. Like you came to love me. Yes, my dear, like I came to love you. Gold grew up kind and caring. When she saw poor people or sick animals, she always wanted to help them. I want to help women when I grew up. She always said, I want to help mothers and babies. Veronica felt proud every time Gold said this. She knew that God had big plans for this child who was thrown away in a gutter. 15 years had passed since that day at the gutter. Okechukwu and Chinyere were older now. Their two daughters, Adeze and Chioma, were teenagers. Adeze was 17 and Chioma was 15 years old. Life had not gotten easier for them. Okechukwu still repaired bicycle, but his hands were getting weaker. Chinyere still sold vegetables, but the market was becoming more difficult every year. Then something strange happened. Chinyere became pregnant again. At first, she was happy. Maybe this time, God will give us a boy, she said to Okechukwu. They were both older now, and they felt like this was their last chance. But the pregnancy was not normal. Chinyere carried the baby for 9 months, then 10 months, then 12 months. The baby still did not come out. This is not normal, the midwife said. You should go to the hospital. They went to the government hospitals. The doctors examined Chinyere and ran several tests on her. They were all confused. The baby is healthy, one doctor said, but something is stopping the birth. We don't understand what it is. Chinyere was now pregnant for 15 months. Her belly was very big, and she found it hard to walk. People in the town began to talk. Is it a curse? Mrs. Ngozi whispered to other neighbors. Maybe they did something bad in the past, and now God is punishing them. I heard that some people are cursed when they reject God's gift. Another neighbor said, maybe they refused a blessing, and now they cannot receive another one. Okechukwu felt worried and scared. He remembered the baby they had left in the gutter, but he did not tell anyone about it. He thought it was just a coincidence. Chinyere also thought about that day sometimes, but she pushed the memories away. It was too painful to remember. They went to different hospitals and saw many doctors. No one could help them. The baby was healthy, but it will not come out. Maybe we should see a traditional healer, Chinyere suggested one day. No, Okechukwu said. We'll keep trying the hospitals. Someone must be able to help us. One of the doctors told them about a new medical foundation in the next town. There is a young female doctor there, she said. She's very good with difficult pregnancies. She helps poor people for free. Okechukwu and Chinyere traveled to the foundation clinic. It was a clean white building with a sign that said Hope Medical Foundation, free care for all. When they entered the clinic, they saw many poor women waiting to see the doctor. Some were pregnant, some held sick babies. A nurse called Chinyere Okechukwu. They went into the examination room. The doctor was a young woman wearing a white coat. She was beautiful and looked very intelligent. Her name tag said Dr. Gold N. Veronica. Good morning, Dr. Gold said with a kind smile. I am Dr. Gold. Please tell me about your problem. Chinyere explained about the pregnancy that will not end. Dr. Gold listened carefully and asked many questions. When Dr. Gold examined Chinyere, something strange happened. She felt like she knew these people somehow. When she saw Okechukwu's hand, she noticed an old scar on his finger. The scar looked familiar, like something from a dream. Then, when she examined Chinyere's back, she saw a small mole. Dr. Gold had the exact same mole on her own neck. Dr. Gold felt her heart beating fast. She looked at Okechukwu again. He had the same shape of nose as her. Chinyere had the same hands. Those could be my birth parents, Dr. Gold thought. But she said nothing. She continued the examination professionally. I think I can help you, Dr. Gold said, but it will take some time. You will need to stay here for a few days. Dr. Gold treated Chinyere with special care. She used her best skills and knowledge. She did not tell them who she thought she was. She just focused on helping them. After 3 days of treatment, Chinyere went into labor. Dr. Gold stayed with her all night, helping her through the birth. Finally, the baby was born. It was a healthy baby girl. Okechukwu looked disappointed again. Another girl? He said quietly, but Dr. Gold smiled. She is beautiful and healthy, she said. This is what matters most. She cleaned the baby and wrapped her in soft clothes. What will you name her? She asked. Chinyere and Okechukwu looked at each other. They were not sure what to say. I have a suggestion, Dr. Gold said. Why don't you call her Destiny? She was meant to be born at this time, in this place. They agreed. Dr. Gold wrote the discharge papers. At the bottom, she signed, delivered by Dr. Gold and Veronica, Hope Medical Foundation. She gave them the papers and some baby supplies. Take care of Destiny, she said. She is a gift. Okechukwu and Chinyere sat in their hotel room that night. They looked at baby Destiny and read the discharge papers. Chinyere read the doctor's name again, Gold and Veronica. She felt something strange in her heart. Gold, she whispered. We almost named our third daughter Gold, remember? Before what happened at the gutter. Okechukwu looked up immediately. What do you say? The name, don't you remember? We were thinking of calling her Gold if she was a girl. But then, Chinyere did not finish the sentence. They were both quiet for a long moment. The memory of that day came back to them clearly now. The doctor looked familiar, Okechukwu said slowly, and she had a small scar on her shoulder. I saw it when she leaned over to examine you. Chinyere felt her hand shaking. You think it could be her? Our daughter from the gutter? We need to go back to that clinic now, Okechukwu said. We need to see her again. The next morning, they returned to the Hope Medical Foundation with baby Destiny. They asked to see Dr. Gold again. She's in her office, the nurse said, but she is very busy today. Please, Chinyere said, it is very important. Tell her that Chinyere and Okechukwu want to see her. Tell her it's about something that happened many years ago. Dr. Gold agreed to see them. When they entered her office, she stood by the window with her back to them. They saw the small scar on her shoulder clearly now. She turned around slowly. I have been expecting you, she said quietly. Okechukwu and Chinyere stared at her. Now that they looked carefully, they saw their own features in her. She had Chinyere's eyes and Okechukwu's chin. You are our daughter, Chinyere whispered. Our daughter from the gutter. Yes, Dr. Gold said simply. I am the girl you left in the dirty water years ago. Chinyere began to cry. We are sorry. We are so sorry. We were poor and scared, and we thought we had no choice. Okechukwu added. We already had 2 girls, and we could barely feed them. When we saw you were sick. I was not sick, Dr. Gold said calmly. I just had a small mark from falling. But you saw a girl child, and that was enough to make you leave me? She sat down at her desk. Do you know what happened to me after you left? They shook their head, afraid to hear it. A kind woman named Veronica found me. She was poor, poorer than you were. But she took me home and raised me with love. She sold her food to buy me medicines when I was sick. She worked extra hours to send me to school, Dr. Gold paused. When I was old enough, she told me how she found me, a baby girl, thrown away in a gutter like rubbish. Chinyere cried harder now. We are so sorry. We were wrong. We were so wrong. Veronica died 5 years ago, Dr. Gold continued. But before she died, she made me promise something. She said, if you ever meet the people who threw you away, forgive them. Not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. Dr. Gold stood up and walked to them. I became a doctor because I wanted to help women and children who have no one else to help them. I started this foundation to serve poor people like the ones who threw me away. She looked directly at them. The girl you left became the woman who saved you. Your son who you wanted so much. He could never have done what I did for you yesterday. Ha! Okechukwu fell to his knees. Please, forgive us. We were wrong. We were so wrong. I forgive you, Dr. Gold said, not because you deserve it, but because I chose to forgive, and because little Destiny deserves to have parents who have learned from their mistakes. She looked at the baby. I will help you raise her, not as your daughter, but as her godmother. She will grow up knowing that being a girl is not a curse, but a blessing. Chinyere held Destiny closer. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for forgiving us. Thank you for saving us. Dr. Gold helped Okechukwu and Chinyere start a new life. She gave them jobs at the foundation. Okechukwu as a maintenance worker and Chinyere as a helper in the nursery. They learned to see their daughter differently now. Adeze and Chioma were smart and strong. Dr. Gold helped them with their school fees and encouraged them to dream big. Little Destiny grew up surrounded by love. She had her parents, her two big sisters, and her godmother, Dr. Gold. She knew that she was precious and wanted. Sometimes, Dr. Gold told Destiny about Mama Veronica, the woman who taught her that every child is valuable. She found me when I was thrown away, Dr. Gold said, and she showed me that love is more powerful than blood. The Hope Medical Foundation grew bigger. Dr. Gold helped more women and children every year. Many of them were people who had been rejected or abandoned by their families. On the wall of her office, Dr. Gold had a picture of Mama Veronica and a quote that said, "You cannot throw away what God has marked to rise." One evening, Dr. Gold sat with Okechukwu, Chinyere, and little Destiny. They watched the sunset together. I used to dream about having a family, Dr. Gold said. I never thought it would happen like this. Chinyere held her hands. We are grateful every day that God brought us back together. We don't deserve your forgiveness, but we are thankful for it. Everyone deserves a second chance, Dr. Gold said. That's what Mama Veronica taught me, and that's what I want to teach Destiny and other children. Destiny played with her toys, happy and laughing. She did not know the full story yet, but she grew up surrounded by people who had learned that love was more important than disappointment and that every child was a gift. Dr. Gold watched her and smiled. The girl who was thrown away in a gutter had become a woman who was saving lives. The family that was broken by poverty and tradition was learning to love without confidence. You cannot throw away what God has marked to rise, Dr. Gold said quietly, repeating Mama Veronica's words. And in that moment, watching Destiny laugh and play, they all understood that sometimes the most beautiful stories come from darkest beginning. Sometimes what looks like an ending is really just the start of something wonderful. The circle was complete, but the story was still continuing with love, forgiveness, and hope for tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching, and please don't forget to share this story with your family and your friends who might love to see them. Till I see you again in my next story. Goodbye.